Hello and welcome to Horror Cult Trash Over, the show that discusses all the masterpieces and trash to pieces of genre cinema. My name's Chris.
I'm Gary.
And this week we are discussing one of the 90s most notorious films. It's been much ridiculed. It's been very controversial. And I think a little misunderstood. It's Striptease from 1996.
I don't even know if it's misunderstood. I think it's just a case of misogyny in the 90s, if I'm honest.
But I think that's led to the misunderstanding
the
film.
People knew what they were going to think of this film before they even watched it.
Absolutely.
I mean, a lot of pent-up sexual frustration in the 90s, clearly, before internet porn. And men getting upset because a big-time actress is getting a kit off in a film.
And getting paid a really good amount to do it. I also think, there were women as well that didn't understand or didn't agree with what the film was about. We'll get into it, obviously, during the episode.
Yeah.
But I think it is very much a product of its time. And the reaction to the film is also very much a product of its time.
Definitely. I was expecting another Showgirls from this, but
yeah,
I was also expecting a trash to piece given its IMDb rating and the reputation and everything. That's not what I got.
No, it's obviously it's not a masterpiece. It's not a 5-star. It's not Oscar winning. But I hope that during this episode we can shed a different kind of light onto the film. Because I do think it is an interesting film.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll get into it.
It's written and directed by Andrew Bergman, who made Isn't She Great? It Could Happen to You, Honeymoon in Vegas, The Freshman, Big Trouble, So Fine. And he's also the writer of Soap Dish, Blazing Saddles, Fletch, Paws of Fury, The Legend of Hank, and more.
Wow.
This is from the writer of Soap Dish and Blazing Saddles.
Oh my god. Love Soap Dish. Big Trouble, that's the Shelley Long Bette Midler film, isn't it? Or is it Lily Tomlin? I can't remember. But yeah, and Honeymoon in Vegas, Sarah Jessica Parker.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't think they're prestige films, but it's got a history.
Blazing Saddles.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Much, very well regarded.
It's based on the book by Carl Hyson. It was made on a budget of $40 million, and it made $113.3 million at the box office.
Mm-hmm.
Again, this is before internet porn.
Yeah, well, Andrew Bergman said that the movie did better than almost anything that he's ever been involved with. And he said that all the subsidiary stuff was gigantic. People had said at the time, I wouldn't be caught dead seeing it. And suddenly, when it's available in a rental store, it's, I'll get Schindler's List and Striptease.
Yeah.
It's like when you're a kid and you're buying condoms at a drugstore, but you buy 12 tubes of toothpaste too, to cover the fact that you're buying Striptease. And I think it's very similar to Showgirls.
Yeah.
Very, very similar to Showgirls in that sense.
In that sense, yeah, definitely. I mean, it underwent last-minute editing when preview audiences were laughing at the wrong parts.
Yes.
Again, I think... I'm not gonna... Now, we reevaluated Showgirls recently and realised it's actually not a bad film, and a lot of it is by design. Something you could realise if you watch the rest of Paul Verhoeven's filmography. But with this, I don't know... I mean, I think it's got a lot to say, but I don't know if everything is by design. I don't think it's a satire, is what I'm saying.
I think I do think trying to be a satire.
Yeah, yeah. I think when people laughed at the wrong parts, I don't know if they were taken out because I just didn't get any sort of trash to piece from this.
No, not at all. I think
a lot of it's camp. I mean, I don't know, mistook camp for bad.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of people mistake camp for bad. You know, there's a nuance to camp, and it may not seem that way, but I definitely think there is.
Yeah.
And as two gay men, we sense camp in everything.
I'm
that we ever
surprised, actually.
see.
I'm surprised this hasn't been picked up by the gays more than it has.
I'm surprised as well. Sex on screen is a very delicate subject,
Mhm.
and there's the big hoo-ha about violence on screen, and there always has, and there always will be. But sex on screen, I think it is comparable in
Yeah.
the sense of this huge hoo-ha about things, and this really in turn compared to Showgirls is actually quite tame.
It is. It is, yeah. I mean, I always, assumed erotic thriller from the iconic artwork, which, by the way, was always in Blockbuster when I was growing up.
Absolutely.
And it's got elements of erotic thriller in there, but it's not full on erotic thriller.
No. And the old adage is sex sells.
Mm.
And it does. It's true. But you're not meant to tell anyone.
No.
And I think the thing is, the posters and the advertising for this film put sex at the forefront.
Yeah.
And so people had an idea about what the film was going to be, including myself, before ever watching it. And, spoiler alert, there is no sex in this film.
No.
There is no sex.
No.
There's nudity.
Yeah.
But there's no sex.
No. Yeah. I mean, it's a fucking 15.
It's a 15. And it's it's kind of mild compared to what we see now. But at the time, people were disgraced and horrified and, scathing about it. And I personally don't think that's particularly fair.
No, and of course, the Razzies had a field day with it.
Oh, if the Razzies hate anything, it's a sexually or an erotically charged female-fronted film.
Yeah,
they fucking hate it.
Yeah, it was nominated for Worst Picture of the Decade for the 90s.
Which I think was won by Showgirls.
Yeah, I think it was. Nominated for Worst Supporting Actor Burt Reynolds, and it won.
That maybe just.
Well, it won Worst Picture, Worst Actress, Worst Screen Couple, Burt Reynolds and Demi Moore, Worst Director, Worst Screenplay, and Worst Original Song for Pussy Pussy Pussy, Whose Kitty Cat Are You by Marvin Smokey Montgomery.
Which is barely in the film.
It's barely in the film.
Barely in the film.
It won because of the name, let's face it.
Yeah, it won because of it, and also it wasn't great.
No.
I did YouTube it afterwards.
Yeah, it's and when we say about the acting in this film, let's talk about who's in it, and then we'll go through.
Yeah. And let's talk about who's in it in a section we like to call "Hey, I Know You."
So Demi Moore is back 2 weeks in a row on Horrorcore Trash Over. She plays Erin Grant in this, and I can tell you, this is a fucking masterpiece compared to LOL.
Yeah, this is the second film in a row where Demi Moore discusses pubic hair.
It's true.
And this is definitely the better of the two.
Yes. So she, of course, as I would have told you last week, she was in LOL, G.I. Jane, Ghost, Charlie's Angels Full Throttle, Indecent Proposal, Few Good Men, etc., etc. Jennifer Tilly actually came to her defense for this film in an interview because of all the backlash she received, and said that the women who slammed Moore were actually hypocrites. Said most of the women you hear running down Demi Moore have done nude scenes or sex scenes in films. It has also been noted that a majority of Best Actress Oscar winners since 1970 have appeared nude on screen, some multiple times.
Yeah, and it's the hypocrisy of the whole thing. And it's so what is prestigious nudity in film and what's not prestigious nudity in film?
Mm-hmm.
Why is some of it acceptable and the other not? I mean, the story being told requires nudity.
Yeah.
That is the story being told. Erotic dancing is a thing.
Mm-hmm.
They're telling the story. Someone like Erin could be a real life person. Now, obviously, the story itself is quite over the top. It's part political thriller, really.
Yeah.
But the character of Erin, is a real person.
Yeah.
That person does exist. Someone who is an erotic dancer or an exotic dancer, I'm not sure what the term is, um, to, get money for her family.
Yeah.
And is that less prestigious than if you did some merchant ivory and took your clothes off? Or, I remember, is it Glenda Jackson in 1970? She was the first Best Actress Oscar winner who did nudity, but it was in Women in Love.
Yeah.
It was, D.H. Lawrence, of course, Of course, that's way more acceptable.
Yeah.
I think it's all acceptable if it's telling a story. And this is telling a story. Well, I think what most of them hated was the fact that Demi Moore was paid $13 million to star in the film.
Yeah, I mean, well, 12.5 million she was paid, which is a record fee for an actress at that time. And it was made possible after a bidding war ensued between the producers of Striptease and G.I. Jane. Each wanted her to star in their first film. The executives behind Striptease won when they offered her the more money of the two. And also, she's a wig wearer in this film. Nicole Kidman would be proud.
She would be proud.
Because she shaved her head for G.I. Jane. She is wearing a wig for some of the reshoot scenes.
Yeah, and I couldn't tell, if I'm being honest. I can guarantee you one thing, and I don't know if it's a positive thing or not, but I can guarantee you that this film would not have made $113.3 million at the worldwide box office if Demi Moore wasn't in that. And I think it's iconic poster.
Yeah.
Nude in that iconic poster.
Yeah.
It absolutely would not have made the money that it did.
Of course not. And she's absolutely fine in the role. She does a good job.
Yeah.
Like, I really... This whole, terrible actress. Blah, blah, blah. No, what you mean is she got her clothes off and it made you uncomfortable. That's the real thing that the critics were trying to say back in the 90s, because it's absolutely not because of her performance. This is not a bad performance by any means. There are bad performances in this film.
Absolutely.
But they're overlooked when it comes to talking about a film because Demi Moore's a spotlight, because she's the one with her clothes off, she's the one on the poster.
Yeah. And it again, going back to that age-old question, to be paid $12.5 million to perform a nude scene or nude scenes in Striptease, is that less acceptable than being paid $1 million to do a nude scene in some prestige film?
Yeah.
Like, why is there such a difference there?
No. Yeah. Armand Asante is in this as Lieutenant Al Garcia. He was in Judge Dredd, Gotti, American Gangster, The Mambo Kings, Prophecy, Goat, Kids vs. Monsters, Shark Swarm, and more.
Now, just to differentiate that, it's not the John Travolta Gotti.
Is it not?
No, it's the I think a mini-series.
Oh, okay.
Where he played Gotti and won an Emmy for it, I believe, if I remember correctly.
Ving Rhames, podcast regular, is in this.
Love Ving Rhames.
He plays Shad. Of course, if you listen to our Piranha episode, you'll know he was in Pulp Fiction, the Mission Impossible franchise, Bringing Out the Dead, Jacob's Ladder, Piranha 3D and 3 Double D, and more. He's in this. One of the not so fine performances.
Do you think? I thought
he's got some shaky moments.
I thought that his character was the funniest.
Yeah.
I think he probably got the best dialogue of the film.
Yeah.
And I like Ving Rhames, and maybe I'm a little biased because I genuinely really like him as an actor. So maybe I'm a little biased, but I didn't think he did a terrible job.
He's not the worst.
No. That would be
someone who could fall into that category though of also not being the worst, but also not being great is Robert Patrick as Daryl Grant.
Yes.
Of course, the star of Terminator 2, The Faculty, Fire in the Sky, The Marine, Peacemaker, From Dusk Till Dawn 2, and the TV series. Starring alongside Demi Moore and Charlie's Angels Full Throttle.
Nice.
And previously in podcast film Double Dragon, and more.
Of course.
I think I don't know if it's him providing a bad performance, but it's just weird seeing Robert Patrick in this film as this type of character, which is so ridiculously different to everything we've seen him play before. But I don't know. It's again, it's a little shaky at times. He kind of acts like he's in a kids' TV show. It's really cartoony at points. His performance, it's so over the top.
I feel like Gary Oldman wasn't available.
Well, yeah.
Or didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
It feels like a role that Gary Oldman probably should have played.
Yeah. And finally, in a role that was turned down by Michael Caine, Gene Hackman, and Donald Sutherland.
Michael Caine turned it down.
After doing Jaws the Revenge.
He doesn't turn down much.
It is Burt Reynolds as Congressman David Dilbeck. He was, of course, in Boogie Nights, Smokey
1
and the
year
Bandit.
later, and Oscar nominated. In a role that he has gone on to denounce.
Yeah.
For some reason.
Smokey and the Bandit, Deliverance, The Player, The Golden Girls, The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas, Modern Love. The list goes on. And he was not originally sought by the production for this role. He wanted the part so badly to the point he contacted Castle Rock Entertainment studio head Rob Reiner personally and went to Miami to audition. He took a pay cut considerably lower than to what he had received during the heyday of his career. And he based his character performance on real-life politicians he had known from his early years through his police chief father in Florida. So please answer me this. For a man that's put so much effort into getting this role and researching for this role, why the fuck is he so bad?
Because Burt Reynolds is one of those actors that has gotten by despite not actually being a great actor. I'm looking at you, Chris Pratt. Kind of has kind of been able to succeed by being in films that everybody loves, rather than being a sort of prestigious actor. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like, and I don't really, and it generally happens to men more than women. But it's people like, Arnold.
Yeah.
He's not the best actor, like Sylvester Stallone, Vin Diesel, kind of being in super popular films. Keanu Reeves. And being super popular. And this is no disservice to the men. I mean, making it in Hollywood, it is not all about the acting ability, and he's gotten by on his charm, and he's been in some really successful films and been able to carry on a career because of that. And again, like I said, this doesn't happen to women. It only really happens to men, let's be honest. And he because I've never, the films that I've watched with him in, I've never at the end, and I've seen Boogie Nights and he was very good in that, but I've never at the end thought, do you know what, Burt Reynolds was a fucking standout in that film, well done to him. It's never happened.
It's just weird for me seeing him without a moustache in this. I'm swearing he always has a moustache and everything.
He does.
But yes, we have more to say about him coming up. Let's talk about our feature presentation.
I have got a couple more.
Oh?
I have.
Okay.
My apologies. I have a couple more. Rena Raphael. Now, she was in Showgirls. Showgirls 2, Pennies from Heaven, which she wrote and directed. And in Mulholland Drive. And I think she's typecast as a ditzy blonde. She's the dancer with the bob blonde haircut. Can't understand the rules of card games. Also, Pandora Peaks. Who was a real life dancer and I think of a bit of a muse for Russ Myers. And she starred in Russ Myers' Return of the Ultra Vixens. So sort of towards the end of his sort of career and his life, really. She is obviously most known for her giant breasts, really, and And that's what Russ Myers was very famous for, and sort of centered her in a couple of his films. But yes.
Okay. Cool. Let's talk about our feature presentation.
This summer, the games in Atlanta have a few new contestants. Aaron Grant, gymnastics. Chad the bouncer, shot put. Congressman David Durbin, 100-meter dash. And what event would be complete without cream corn wrestling? On June 28th, let the games begin. Yes! Striptease, rated R. At theaters, June 28th.
Yeah, so we have former FBI Secretary Erin Grant, and she loses custody of her young daughter Angela to her ex-husband Daryl, a criminal who cost Erin her job. Because of his criminality, she lost her job with the FBI, you know. And the film starts with a very condescending judge referring to Erin as little lady.
Well, it starts with a shot.
Occasions.
Let's face it. It starts with a shot of a man lying face first on a boat in Speedos. That's how it actually starts.
Does I miss that?
Yeah, literally the
God,
first.
was I looking away?
The first shot of the film is a man on a boat in Speedos.
Who?
Just a random guy. It's literally just goes up from him, and then we go into Florida.
How did I miss that? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, the courtroom.
Well, then we go to the courtroom in Florida. And the judge has been very condescending to Erin, calls her little lady, tells her, oh, well, you can visit on the weekends on Christmas Eve and Easter, where you can both dress up in cute little bunny outfits. The judge acknowledges that her ex-husband has issues, but they're nothing compared to a mother without a job.
Mm-hmm.
So this is obviously very interesting. This is very much the main message of the film. And it's really refreshing because it wasn't what I was expecting.
No.
So the idea of the ex-husband, who is a known criminal, being a better parent than Erin, just because she hasn't got a job, is, you know, really interesting as a theme for the film. And it's the reason she has to go and become a dancer at the Eager Beaver, a strip club in Miami. I know, how stupid. And then, of course, it's satire. Like, it's the strip club's called Eager Beaver. Of course it's a satire. But she starts as a dancer there to be able to afford to appeal to get her daughter back. And the strip club is full of the usual lecherous yuppie types in suits, fresh from their yuppie jobs, obnoxious twats with money to burn. You know, and the Pandora Peaks, she performs on stage, and then we go behind the scenes, and she's not too fond of the toll that her song choices are taking on her breasts.
No.
And one of the other dancers says, girl, those babies are going to wind up in traction if you don't play any ballads.
Yeah, the soundtrack immediately we get Give Me Some Lovin' by the Spencer Davis Group.
Yes.
Get Out of My Dreams and Into My Car by Billy Ocean.
A great soundtrack. It is a great soundtrack. Apart of the Pussy 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 song.
Well, apart from that,
I won't be listening to that at any time.
Some of the first dialogue we get at the Eager Beaver is someone going in is like, Poontang, the night is young and full of promise, my boy.
Erin isn't a fan of how cold the dressing room is. And she says they could store meat in here. In fact, they do store meat in here. Which is interesting. You know, it's interesting dialogue. And it doesn't, you know, it kind of... It is one of those films that just kind of throws it out there. And you're like, oh, you know, and you're like, that's intriguing. It throws it out there. But it kind of... Because the plot goes wild in the aisles by the end... It kind of loses it a little bit.
Yeah.
But these snippets are really interesting.
They are. And also, what's interesting to me is how Demi Moore in this film, as Erin, looks exactly, and sounds exactly like Carl Richards.
Exactly like Carl Richards.
Like, it could have been her, and I wouldn't have known the difference.
This would be before. This would have been when Carl Richards had her old nose. So Carl Richards wouldn't have looked like this back then. Sorry, that was a little bit tea for you there. Yeah, she has a conversation with. Is it Angela? No, Angela's a kid, isn't it? But one of the other Sabrina, excuse me. And Sabrina says, this is honest work.
Yeah.
And Erin says, I know that, and you know that, but the judge doesn't know that. So the judge has turned around and said, well, nothing's worse for a kid than a mother without a job, essentially. And Erin now has a job, but it's not the right kind of job.
Yeah.
And again, really interesting look at it. This film, and it surprised the hell out of me, this film does not shame sex work.
It doesn't.
It doesn't. It's pro sex work. It's, it looks at it in terms of it being a job. And the idea that we don't all love our jobs. And being a, dancer in a strip club, she doesn't have to love it.
No.
Now, that's not to shame the work, but she doesn't have to love the work. But it is honest work.
Yeah.
And I think that's really interesting because it's not what I was expecting. I was expecting jokes, all the jokes, to be at the expense. Something like Eager Beaver.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. It's a it's a satire on that sort of thing. But it's not, the joke is never at the expense of the women dancing in the strip club. It never is. No. And that's so refreshing, particularly for 1996.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I think that's another reason why people found such a big issue with it.
I genuinely think that's it. Because it doesn't shame the women. And I think that's why. And it's interesting that it's written and directed by men. Now, looking at the filmography, you direct a film like, what was it called? Is it Big Business? You direct Big Trouble, excuse me. You direct films like that. I'd hope that you have a respect for women.
Yeah,
and maybe that's where this comes from. Erin asks Shad, played by Ving Rhames, how do I look? To which he replies, better than me, and that ain't easy.
He has a monkey on his shoulder.
He does, for some reason.
Because Showgirls was released a year before this. That's why.
Apparently, behind the scenes, at a topless bar, you have to have a monkey. Yeah. Apparently.
Yeah, he offers to beat up Daryl, but Erin thinks that it'll look bad in court. She goes on stage and gives us an incredible performance to Money Can't Buy It by Annie Lennox. Now, this is a recurring theme.
Yes.
Here. She has some obsession with Annie Lennox. It's never explained why. I mean,
no.
You don't need an excuse to have an obsession with Annie Lennox, but she only dances to Annie Lennox.
And one artist formerly known as Prince song.
Yes.
But exclusively, apart from that one performance, it's exclusively Annie Lennox songs. She's dressed in a suit and tie. She looks like a Rat Pack member. And I think I have to say, and I'm gonna
say, giving Annie Lennox in that suit.
She is. Yeah, she's given what's it called? Oh my god, I'm losing my words today. Androgyny.
Yeah.
Androgyny. That's the word I was looking for. And Demi Moore, beautiful. Absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
Gorgeous woman.
Yeah.
And she is in fantastic shape. She did yoga. She really prepared for the role, and I think that's commendable.
Yeah.
I don't. I'm not here to say, oh well, she shouldn't have to feel the need to exercise and get into shape for the role. I mean, if that's how she wants to look, and she looks absolutely stunning throughout the whole film. She serves looks on stage. Yeah. And I'm here for it. I'm definitely here for
serving
it.
cunt.
She is. Congressman David Dilbeck is in the audience. Now, I did think he was blind. I did think there was a weird, like, stupid joke about a blind man going to a strip club, but it's not true. It's Congressman David Dilbeck, played by Burt Reynolds, and he's trying to hide the fact that it's him, which is why he's wearing sunglasses indoors. And he's absolutely losing his mind in the corner, and he's infatuated straight away with Erin, watching her dance.
Yeah, he says, an angel appeared, an angel of pure delight.
What was that?
It's Burt Reynolds.
That was Burt Reynolds.
And it's apparent from that first bit of line delivery that he's having ham in his sandwiches.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. A bachelor who's getting married to Melissa at the weekend. We know this because he tells Erin about it. He grabs Erin and won't let go. So Burt Reynolds hits him over the head with a champagne bottle.
The guy who runs the Eager Beaver, he's complaining to the girls backstage because the Flesh Farm is doing better than them. The girls think it's because they serve buffalo wings and their girls are hookers, but he thinks it's because they dance fast, which makes them sweat and makes the customers drink more.
Yeah. Right. So when this bachelor's telling Erin about Melissa, she says, "Do you love Melissa?" He says, "Very much." She says, "Then go home to her." After he's whacked by the bottle, Erin does feel the need to check up on him, referring to him as poor man, despite his inappropriate behaviour, which has caused this situation. And it happens throughout the film where Erin is grabbed by members of the audience.
Yeah.
And it's not a flattering look at strip clubs. It's not saying the women love it and everyone has a great time. There is a seediness to it, but the seediness isn't from the women who are performing on stage. It's from the men in the audience who don't know how to act appropriately. And it happens this is the first time that she's grabbed, and it's kind of the catalyst of the story, is if the guy had kept his hands to himself, none of this would have happened. We then get a performance from Miss Sabrina Hepburn, and she's dressed like a cat from the musical Cats.
Yeah,
essentially,
exactly like she's from Cats.
And she performs to Pussy, 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 Whose Kitty Cat Are You? By the Light Crust Doughboys. And yeah, it's the performance, fabulous. And we only get a brief moment of it. The song, not so great. I will give him that. The Razzies, I will give you that. Daryl uses his daughter to steal a wheelchair from a hospital. He's dressed as a doctor and they literally just walk in.
Yeah.
She sits on a wheelchair and he's a wheelchair salesman. And he starts wheeling her out, and one of the nurses, "Oh, it breaks my heart to see children in distress." And he throws her out the wheelchair and puts it in the back of the van. And that's it.
It's such a random plot point.
It's like the illegality of his character is, from actually quite a funny moment. I know it's not cool to steal, and especially from hospitals.
It's fine. It's in a film called Striptease.
But it's kind of funny. Well, I feel like I have to defend myself. Someone's going to come after me on Twitter. Well, it's not funny stealing from hospitals.
Well, I mean, you can say it's original writing. I don't think anyone else has done this.
Yeah, there's many films that are original that still have no right to.
Again, I think at this point, Robert Patrick is stealing from Burt Reynolds' lunchbox with his ham sandwiches.
It's like two dogs fighting over a gammon steak.
Yeah.
Erin goes to see...
Have we mentioned... No, we haven't actually. Angie is played by Demi Moore's real daughter, Rumer Willis.
Yeah, Rumer Willis. Yes. It doesn't... I get them confused because I swear one of them had a song. Did one of them
Maybe.
have a song out?
If this is going to be a I heard a rumour joke, I swear to God.
No, why?
No, I thought you were going to...
No, I thought one of them had a song. One of them was a bit of a kind of it girl in the early 2000s,
Okay.
I feel. Like, I think she hung around with Avril Lavigne and Kelly Osbourne. I think she was, maybe not, I don't know.
What gang that was.
Erin goes to see Daryl's sister and brother-in-law to find his new whereabouts. And the joke here, and it's an old joke, and it's a silly joke, and it's a stupid one. It's kind of, even by 1996, it's a bit like, oh, okay. The idea that they're sort of backwards, I suppose you would say hillbillies.
Yeah,
I think is the term, and then kind of a lot of their humor's based around that. It's a bit tired by 1996. His brother-in-law is some sort of police officer, and he tries it on with Erin, moving closer to her and asking if she does private parties.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is intriguing because it's clear that Erin's new line of work suddenly gives him carte blanche to act as inappropriate as he wishes. And the belief is that Erin would likely reciprocate because she's a dancer in a strip club.
Yeah.
And I think that's interesting because I'm assuming that he's not acted like that because he keeps bringing up the dancing.
Mm-hmm.
And he wouldn't act like that if she wasn't a dancer in a strip club.
No.
She steals some mail, which I'm assuming means that she's found Daryl's new address.
Nope, it's phone number.
Oh, it's his phone number?
Yeah, it's phone bill.
So she goes to a house that's kind of derelict.
Yeah, I don't know where this house is.
I thought she found an address.
No, because it shows her in the car and she's got the phone number on the phone bill when she tries calling him, but it gets no answer. And then she goes to this house, and it's really strange because I thought it was going to come back. I thought it was maybe like the family house that they've let, go to shit or whatever. But she goes to this abandoned house. There's like a bunch of dolls in there. She has a flashback to Angie running, and then we transition from that to her being sad and moody on stage, dancing to "Cold" by Annie Lennox.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, this house never comes back again.
No, but the dolls do.
Do they?
Yes. Later on, she asks about the dolls. And he said, we lost them. We left them.
Oh,
but in this house, they're torn up.
Yeah.
Like the heads have been pulled off. So that's when it comes back. But she does a performance with a chair.
Mm-hmm. She does.
A chair performance to Cole by Annie Lennox. It's very emotional.
Someone grabs her leg. Nice leg, honey. Maybe I'll take it home. It's like, I recommend you let go.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, she can't perform without someone grabbing at her.
Uh-huh.
She can't even, sit there with her sister-in-law without being grabbed. And it is a bit interpretive dance.
Yes.
It is a little bit. It's very emotional. And the manager says, what's with Princess Di tonight? But the weirdo thinks that he can grab her because he has $500. I have $500. That's his defense.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, I have this money. Why am I not allowed to touch?
Yeah.
If you want the $500, give me your leg.
Mm-hmm.
Backstage, Erin gets a letter from a regular called Jerry, who tells her that he can help her get her daughter back for nothing in return. But if she could do some dancing to Kenny G's Christmas music, he'd be very grateful. And as always, Erin sees the best in people, even a strange man like Jerry.
Yeah.
And she kind of feels sorry for him, even though the other women are sort of like, no, he's strange. Like, this isn't appropriate behavior. She sees the best in him. And I think it's a nice sort of characteristic because obviously Erin is the heart of the film. She's the one we're with.
Yeah.
You know, she is the one we want to see succeed. And it's nice to see. Maybe it's a little naive,
Yeah.
really,
Oh, yeah.
but that's not necessarily a bad character trait
Mhm.
in a film like this.
Yeah. Shad's doing some sort of weird experiment with a yogurt.
Well, what he's doing is putting a cockroach inside his yogurt in an attempt to sue the producers of the yogurt for feeding him a cockroach.
Yeah. And he says, "Call me a dreamer. I don't want to be a bouncer forever."
No. Well, he wants to get his money from a lawsuit because there's a cockroach in his yogurt. And he said that his lawyer says this it's a done deal. He's going to get loads of money for it. To which Erin replies, "Your lawyer's office is above a video store." After this shift, the manager tries to convince the girls to wrestle topless in creamed corn. He especially wants Erin to wrestle in cream corn.
Yeah.
Because he says, "You're getting a big following here, Erin, even with that shit music you play." How
Poor Annie Lennox.
dare you? Annie Lennox has given you half of her fucking back catalogue, and this is how you repay
Yeah.
her?
He suggests that pasta wrestling could be a better substitute, as long as it's not with meat or fish, and she informs him that if she wanted to wrestle, she should have joined the World Wrestling Federation.
Yeah.
And
That ages the film terribly, by the way.
she gives him a telling off for his misogynistic napkins and coasters as well, because they degrade the women and the beavers.
Yes. Yeah, it's there's also one of the girls is called Ariel Sharon, and she is I think she said Israeli.
Mm-hmm.
And and this ages the film terribly. A lot of her jokes are based around her being Jewish.
Yeah.
So she says, "Oh, they made us wrestle in falafel, and we all broke out in hives." And it is one of the, it's a joke that's repeated. And Ariel Sharon was not at the time, but afterwards. I don't know if it's a joke based on this, but the Prime Minister of Israel, a man called Ariel Sharon, and he was a politician at the time. It's one of the repeated jokes that doesn't quite work, and it didn't work then.
No.
Jerry is waiting by Erin's car with flowers, and again promises to help her get her daughter back. Now Jerry isn't conventionally attractive. I don't think there's a love story happening here, but she does sort of kind of feel a connection and sort of she feels sorry for him, but also is quite grateful for him offering to help.
Yeah.
You know, he's not grabbing at her. He gives her flowers. It is kind of strange, but she again sees the best in people, and it turns out, does really want to help her get her daughter back. He can't bring himself to call her Erin because he worships her so much. So yeah. I mean, there are red flags there. Let's At Shad's lawyer's office over the video store, a secretary eats his yogurt, and it's got Shad on top of it on a sticky note, including the cockroach, without ever noticing that she's eaten a cockroach. To great hilarity.
Great commentary on people stealing food in offices.
Oh,
it's very, very realistic.
I think it's the biggest theme of the film is about office etiquette.
Yeah, so Dilbeck is in trouble because of his trip to Eager Beaver. He admits he just loves naked women and it's his character flaw. And his assistant tells him that a man called Jerry recognized him and that he wants him to fix Erin's court case, and then he won't tell anyone about it.
Yes. It's 6 weeks before the election, so they cannot afford for this embarrassment to get out there. Interestingly, Dilbeck is concerned that the judge in Erin's case is a Democrat. so he might not be able to convince him.
Yeah.
And because Dilbeck is a Republican, obviously. So the interesting part is that clearly the judge's treatment of Erin doesn't necessarily come from political allegiances, but it's probably from gender bias, which I thought was it's a little bit that maybe, you know, I have maybe been accused of reading too much into films in the past on this podcast, but that is how I interpreted that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely.
You know, it's the treatment of women knows really no political allegiances.
Oh, God. The political commentary in this is literally just as relevant today as it was back then. You know, there'll always be sleazy politicians who...
From both sides.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that helps, although there are elements that haven't aged very well, that helps the majority of the film feel relevant in modern day.
Yeah.
And makes it, you know, it just, might we say ahead of its time, perhaps?
I think so, because I think a modern sensibility, we can now look at it in terms of, you know, we aren't judging the sex work.
No.
We're not judging that. And thankfully, the film's not either. So now we can actually look at what the film is about.
Yeah.
And look at the plot and the story and the acting, because we're not preoccupied with breasts, you know, like they were back in the day. Really interesting where this Jerry storyline's going with, and his relationship with. Oh wait, no, sorry, he's found dead immediately in the river.
Yes, by Lieutenant Al Garcia and his family. His son runs up to them and says, "Dad, it's a floater." So yes,
which I'm assuming didn't mean poo back in 1996.
Shad goes to the video store underneath his lawyer's place to rent Free Willy, but it isn't available, and he says people are pigs, sit on movies like they own them.
And I thought I genuinely think Shad's the funniest character. That's funny.
I guess. I mean, I suppose this is the intentional comedy. I don't know, it just doesn't feel like the usual Ving Rhames performance. There's something just felt a bit off. But again, I think it's this weird, and it's very strange that this is a film. I mean, obviously, it's a film called Striptease, of course, it's directed towards adults, but some of the acting in it feels like something in a film aimed towards younger audiences.
Okay.
Like, it's very over the top and cartoony.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't even know if I could say camp for some of it. Some of it is just straight up cartoony.
Yeah, I do think a lot of Shad's jokes are based on the fact that he's obviously a very large built man, and he's a bouncer in a strip club, but he's wanting to rent Free Willy. Yeah, and getting angry with a power drill because of it. Because for some reason he has a power drill in his hand.
He does. Funny how popular Free Willy was back in the 90s.
Yeah, I know. I haven't seen that film for years. We should rewatch it. I don't think it will hold up to a rewatch.
I adored Free Willy 2. Do you know what? Fun story. Free Willy 2. I think that's when I realised I was gay.
Okay.
Not because of the whale.
Which free?
No, because of the actors in it.
Is
obviously, the human beings.
Free Willy?
It was the correct Free Willy. And I remember there's one scene where the younger guy in it goes swimming, and you know he's in his swim shorts and everything. I was like, I can feel something here. There's definitely something. I'm attracted to this.
Okay, lovely.
And there we go. That's my gay awakening. Free Willy 2, The Adventure Home.
Okay, if Free Willy's not going to hold up for a rewatch, Free Willy 2 is definitely not going to hold up.
Michael Madsen's in Free Willy 2.
Virginia Madsen's in the first one.
I think she's in the second one.
Really?
Yeah. Free Willy 2, The Adventure Home. What a film.
Anyway.
What's the guy's name? Oh, Jason James Rich. Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
I recognise him from something else.
Okay. What do you
No,
reckon?
I don't. He looks like so many actors.
Right.
Yeah, there we go.
He looks like he should have been in a Scream film.
He does, yeah. No, I thought he was the guy from Tucker and Dale versus Evil, but I do not think he is. He was in the Neverending Story, though.
Right, okay.
Yeah. So there we have it. First ever celebrity crush. Jason James Richter. Completely random. Anyway,
Where were
back
we?
to Striptease.
Back to Striptease.
Free Willy, yeah. So Erin spent some time with Angie at the beach. She tells her mum all about the wheelchair scheme and how she stays with Rita on Fridays.
Yeah, and this is where the conversation about the dolls takes place.
Oh, okay.
And
yeah,
Erin
that
realizes
makes sense.
that the destroyed dolls are hers.
Yeah.
In whatever fucking house that was. I have no idea. Her ex-husband berates her for being a stripper, as he puts it, despite him using his daughter to commit crimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's the same thing again. Erin is nervous that if her ex is... Well, actually, it's not. Erin is actually nervous this time because if her ex is caught, then their daughter would be taken into care. Because she hasn't been given visitation... not visitation. Because she's only been given visitation.
Mm-hmm.
And if they find out about her work, she's scared that rather than her daughter being given back to her, she would be taken into care if anything happened to Daryl. And I think that is valid.
Yeah.
I think that is a valid worry for her. And it does kind of explain why she doesn't just grass him up straight away. So yeah, Shad's lawyer is representing the bachelor who Dilbeck smacked with the bottle, and there's a photo of the incident, and we find out that Dilbeck has powerful business connections who want to ensure that he remains in office with the election in 6 weeks. So Shad's lawyer promises that they can profit off of this photo even more than the yogurt, the cockroach in the yogurt, which I assume wasn't going to work anyway. And Shad gets him to promise that Erin won't be involved in any of it, despite being in the photo. He also, and this happens a lot in the film, he also corrects his lawyer when he refers to Erin as a stripper rather than a dancer.
Yeah.
And I think that, for me, was really the main sex positive note.
Oh, definitely.
From the film. And it made me rethink how I've worded my notes. And, the idea that, stripper is, I think, and the way it's used by people in this film, the term stripper is, kind of used as an insult almost. And I know that's not true in all cases, but within the film, it is used as almost a derogatory term. Yeah. And that dancer is preferred. So Dilbeck's powerful business connections are a huge theme in the novel. And it deals with the corruption of government officials giving subsidies to sugar growers in Florida. Yeah. And it's a big part of the novel and it's based in part on real life events. Like the whole photograph is based on real life events. The subsidies go into, sugar growers. It is all sort of taken from fact and then obviously made into a non-fiction novel. But it's a huge part. And it's kind of... It's so weird because it was not what I was expecting.
No, absolutely not.
When you look at the poster, when you see the titles, and the novel's called Striptease as well. When you see the title and the poster, it's, now we realise, satirical. The name Striptease is satirical because it's actually not about stripteases. No, it's not about that. Which I thought was just it's kind of clever in a way in its satire, but it does sort of lend itself to people being disappointed with the end product. Back at the club, dancer Ariel Sharon discusses how she would like Steven Spielberg to turn up and take her away so that they can share a shower.
Yes, she thinks he'd have big hots for her.
Yes. She's reading a magazine that I'm assuming is covering Steven Spielberg's renovations of some sort, and can see a shower and she can picture herself there. The actual Michael Jordan turns up to see the show, and is that the real?
It is
real
Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan. He doesn't say anything.
No.
But we sort of pan past him in the crowd. Erin tries to contact Jerry to no avail. And the manager of the Eager Beaver speaks to Shad about how he hasn't had an erection since opening the place, except when he got the hots over porpoises at SeaWorld. And I didn't just make that up. There is no gas leak here. I haven't mistyped anything. That is the conversation. Yeah. Right. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. That, I wonder if that was one of the scenes that got... No, I don't know if that was intended comedy or not. It's just fucking weird. It's a really weird line of dialogue.
Completely pointless.
I don't know why it's in there at all.
It could have been cut. Because it's not funny. It's like, what's funny about... Like, where are the jokes?
Yeah. Lieutenant Al Garcia tells Erin all about Jerry, and he had bathtub water in his lungs rather than the water from the lake, so he was drowned and then dumped there. And Erin reveals to us that she used to work as a secretary for the FBI before her court case.
Yeah, so he is in some ways a little condescending to her.
Mm-hmm.
And she schools him a little bit, actually. And she says, well, I do know what I'm talking about because I did work for the FBI. So put that in your pipe and smoke it, dickhead.
Meanwhile, one of the dancers dances with a snake to You've Really Got a Hold on Me by the Miracles. It's before Britney, way ahead of its time.
It is. Was it a thing? Snake? Because you watch Pink Flamingos and there's a topless dancer dancing with a snake in Pink Flamingos. I don't get... it's a great performance and she's slaying the performance, but in terms of sexiness, is that something that some men like?
Maybe.
Women with snakes?
I mean, if it is a well-known thing before this, then he does a great parody on it later on in the film.
But the snake performer, she's performing next door, isn't she?
Yeah.
And the meat...
The flesh something.
Yeah. So she's performing next door.
Flesh Factory.
Flesh Factory. And Dilbeck talks with the owner of the sugar business about how wonderful it is that the workers get $30 an hour. Not an hour, excuse me, that would have been great. $30 a day, and how Erin is his angel, despite him not remembering where he saw her. He says he just wants a happy life with his wife and his mistress.
Yes.
It's very... The political commentary is a big part of the film. It was a huge part of the novel. But it is on the nose.
Very,
yeah.
It's there's no
not
subtlety.
Subtle. So they drive past, the workers in the fields who are farming the sugar. And, they're like, oh, how much do they get? Oh, $30 a day.
Yeah.
Isn't that great? The American dream, this, that, and the other. And it is kind of a bit like, yeah, we get it. This could do with a little more nuance to it because it's very on the nose.
Yeah.
Erin does another dance.
She did. Well, before that, she asks Al to help her get Angie back because her ex is a criminal and stealing wheelchairs. And he says he'll see what he can do. So that sets up something a little later on. But yeah, she has a dance to Little Bird by Annie Lennox.
Yeah, she's doing this at home now.
Brushing her teeth.
She's practicing. She's this I have to say feels a little forced.
Forced?
Forced.
Oh my god, I was absolutely living for this.
Oh no, I'm living for it, but it feels a bit like they were like, we need a little more nudity from Demi, so we're gonna have her performing at home in a towel. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, I thought this was high camp.
It is high camp. No. I enjoyed it. I did enjoy it, but it to me maybe a little cynical. I did think, well, why is she practicing her dance in a towel while she's getting dressed? Surely if she's performing a dance, she could just do that in a leotard.
I thought she was just having a nice time to Annie Lennox.
She's having a great time. But she says to, because Garcia turns up, he knocks on the door and she acts like no one's ever knocked on the door, ever. Like, this is the first time anyone has ever knocked on her door. She's like, oh, who is it? It's like, okay, love. She's like, I'm just practicing my dance. And then she gets dressed. And Garcia informs her that the judge from the beginning, that Judge Fingerhut, that was his name, he had a heart attack and a porno theatre and died, which means her custody hearing won't take place for another 6 months and for the judge to be replaced. And it is, again, very on the nose, isn't it? He died of a heart attack at a porno theatre.
Yeah.
Whilst reprimanding her, or potentially reprimanding her, for dancing in a strip club. And also being about family values. Erin thinks, fuck this, and just takes Angela back.
Yeah.
She literally just like, let's go. And Shad's lawyer shows Dilbeck the incriminating photo. And Dilbeck doesn't give a shit, actually, because he recognises Erin as his angel. And then goes to spy on her at a house. And he watches her take Angela back and realises that because he's got a whole history very quickly, and realises that she's taken Angela illegally, essentially.
Yeah, Angie says, you snatched me, didn't you?
Yeah. Which I'm not like, and she's like, yeah, I did. Actually, yeah, I did. And she's like, oh, that's all right then.
Snatched.
I'm not sure what they were going with that. He's talking to whoever it is, his assistant or whatever, and he wants to possess this beautiful creature, and it's a word that comes up a lot, referring to the women as creatures. And he gets his assistant to, what I thought was, steal a pair of her knickers.
Which I thought was also the case.
From the laundrette. What he actually steals is lint from the dryer.
Oh.
It's referred to later on as lint from the dryer. So she's dried her clothes at the laundromat.
Yeah.
And he's gone in and stolen the lint. So all the bits of fluff that came off her clothes. I have to say, I really hope it was just her clothes in there. And no one else's, because that would be really weird for what's referenced later. A debate occurs on a boat. I don't know what this boat comes from somewhere, and it turns out to be a huge part of it. But a debate occurs on a boat between two people that I don't know who they are. What's it called?
The Big Sugar. The
Big Sugar, of course. I'm assuming these two people are part of the sugar company, and they discuss whether to kill Erin or simply keep her quiet by threatening to take away her daughter. And before a speech in front of the Young Christians Society, Dilbeck is running late after becoming sidetracked by sniffing Erin's lint while smothered in Vaseline. And again, I didn't. There's no typo there. That's exactly what happened. And again, it's
a bizarre image. It's
very bizarre, because it is Burt Reynolds with a cowboy hat, cowboy boots, in his boxers, and with some sort of like leather jacket on, smothered in Vaseline.
Yeah.
Sniffing this big pink fluffy ball. And then going out, and again, very on the nose, going out and talking about family values in front of a bunch of young Christians.
Yeah. New strippers introduced at the Eager Beaver.
Yes.
Lorelei.
This is the snake
Queen.
Snake Queen.
Shad is delivering her snake, but it's died, and he's told to go and get a new one.
Well, it's been killed by the owners of the strip club next
Yeah.
door. So they've poached her and brought her over, and in retaliation, they've killed the snake.
Yeah.
So Shad has to go out and get another snake. It's another. It's funny. It is funny and leads to a funny moment, but it is a bit of guff that could have been cut out.
Yeah.
You know.
Erin dances to Little Bird by Annie Lennox
She's
in
done a
person
practicing.
now.
She does it properly now.
Now, at this point, we had to pause the film and was like, oh, should we see how long we are into it? I was very surprised. Now, I like this film. Fuck me. We were only an hour into it at this point. We had 50 minutes left.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It kind of felt like it went on for so much longer. I do feel like there's a lot of things that could have been cut out here.
Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't warrant an hour and 52 minutes.
No.
A lot of it could have been cut and kind of smoothed out.
Yeah.
I feel. Because we were kind of like, it did feel like hours we'd been watching the film. And we, when we're watching a film, we do pause and we try and gather our thoughts and our notes together, but I didn't think we'd done it that much. So generally, it felt like a very long film.
Yeah,
it did.
Daryl is waiting for Erin in her car and holds a knife to her, telling her to give Angie back. But Shad shows up and says, "Put the knife down." To which Daryl says, "Suck my dick," and Shad says, "Whip the little fella out."
Yeah.
Shad breaks his arm and Erin manages to get away.
Yeah. Daryl's then arrested. Is he arrested?
He's arrested.
He is arrested.
Yeah.
And Garcia turns up and they establish that Dilbeck is definitely the congressman who attacked the Bachelor, which I thought we'd already established anyway.
No, because he shows her pictures
With
this time
Erin.
and she seemingly didn't know who he was.
So they realise that Erin could potentially be in danger now because she is in the photo. Returning home, Erin finds a letter inviting her to dance privately for Dilbeck for $2,000. She then has a little heart-to-heart with Angela before bed. This is an interesting moment because Angela asks her if she enjoys dancing, and Erin tells her that she doesn't. Now, earlier in the night, Angela had witnessed Erin dancing on stage.
Yeah.
She'd been backstage and she'd sort of gone and saw her, and she's telling her how pretty she looked and how beautiful she looked.
Demi, girl, what a slay.
Demi, girl, what a slay. But Erin said, "No, I don't enjoy dancing. It's not what I want to do. It's not who I am, but I do it for money." And I thought that was quite refreshing.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, she doesn't have to enjoy it.
No.
It's a means to an end.
Now,
Now there are many women who do enjoy sex work.
Yeah.
Who do enjoy it. That's what they live to do. That's not discrediting that. It's Erin saying, because we've all had jobs that we've never liked, that we've had to pay the bills. And this is just not who I am. I want to be someone else. I want another, a job. I loved my job in the FBI's, and such. And it's interesting because the child in this film is way more respectful of sex work than the majority of the men in this film.
Yeah.
And it isn't really, and I think maybe people could interpret it as a film where every man is a piece of shit, but it's not.
It's not, because we have the Ving Rhames character.
Yeah, but so many of the men are negative portrayals of men that I think people could latch on to that, and it's another criticism that I don't necessarily agree with.
No,
but it is
realistic.
It is. Well, it is really. It is. Erin and Garcia discuss the situation at SeaWorld, and she agrees to dance for the $2,000 because she does need the money, especially now Angela is living with her and feeding dolphins at SeaWorld.
Yeah.
Again, a little bit of guff that could have been cut. On the boat that evening, Erin does her dance, surprisingly, to the artist formerly known as Prince.
Yeah.
And she says to Dilbeck, she says, he had some sort of song lined up. She's like, well, I'll dance. Do you know the artist formerly known as Prince?
Yes, he introduced him. He's so nervous to the point he introduces himself as Congressman Dildo.
I'm Congressman Dildo. Shad has joined her for her protection, and he's telling Dilbeck's own protection, his sort of henchman, that he auditions all the girls, even Meryl Streep when she was called Chesty La France. You can't make this shit up, can you? Erin and Dilbeck discuss her case as she dances, but Dilbeck confesses that he made love to the lint from her dryer, and I said that right, and she threatens to kill him if he invades her privacy again.
Yes.
Before leaving. So he did make love to the big piece of fluff.
He did.
From the dryer. So I really hope that was all just her clothes.
He also...
although it's weird either way.
He makes her aware that he knows about the case and whatnot, which kind of makes her question it, and I think that's the first little hint she gets that he actually murdered Jerry.
Yes, of course, yeah.
And he also says, just a touch of your hand sets my pecker on fire.
The cream for that. He asks her to return the next day for $5,000, and she asks if they can discuss her case even more, and he says, we can talk about whatever you want as long as you're naked. Lovely. On the way off the boat, Dilbeck's right-hand man, what's his name? Malcolm, blackmails Erin before she leaves, as they know that her custody of Angela is illegal. She then gives Garcia no new information as a result of this blackmail. When Malcolm refers to himself as Dilbeck's right-hand man, what does she say? She says something like, oh, you must be very busy. You must be exhausted.
Back at the Eager Beaver, Lorelei is being strangled by the new snake.
It's not her Monty.
No.
Which it took me a little while to realize, Monty Python.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not her Monty, and this one is angry.
Yeah.
And tries to suffocate her on stage. Someone who is dead though is Shad's lawyer.
Yeah.
A weird scene where Shad's taken to the mortuary, wherever it is, and Shad's disgusted by a dead body.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna throw up. Oh, I'm gonna throw up. It again. Could have been cut.
Yeah. Daryl steals a gun from Rita, and when Erin goes to dance for Dilbeck again, she refuses to let Shad go with her, and Daryl follows her.
Yeah. She's Erin's concocted some sort of plan to bring Congressman Dilbeck to justice, and she stays up all night with the yellow pages. And you hear tidbits of what she's saying, but you don't really know what the plan is. She goes to the boat alone to dance for him without Shad. In the limousine, the driver apologizes for watching Erin in the mirror, which reveals that he can actually speak English, which I don't get. I mean, that's a bit offensive, insinuating that he doesn't know English.
It was a little strange.
I didn't really get that. She said, "Oh, so you know English?" I was like, "Yeah, okay, yeah." Well, when was it insinuating he didn't know English? And she asks him what he thinks of his employers, to which he replies, "They're filth who exploit the poor." And she says, "I think you and I are going to get along fine." Again, like, the nose is bleeding now. There is blood spurting. After overdosing on pain medicine, Daryl follows Erin onto the boat and Malcolm. Attacks Malcolm as Erin dances to "Sweet Dreams Are Made of This" by the Eurythmics, whose lead singer is Annie Lennox. Erin is serving in.
She is.
I thought was inspired by Bjork's swan dress at the Oscars. She's got like a feather boa. She's got like a feather skirt. She's got knee-high, chunky pink boots. I think she looks great. Daryl interrupts, and it's not funny, and the performance isn't great. I'm sorry, ladies. Performance isn't great. Because he's some sort of hillbilly, he hasn't had proper medical, attendance to his broken arm. So he's got a golf club instead. So that's what he smacked Malcolm with. He interrupts. Him and Daryl and Dilbeck start to get on because they're both hamming it up. You're hamming it up too. Me too.
He seems to think that he's from The Price is Right.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Hilarious. Erin pulls out a gun though, and forces Daryl and Dilbeck into the limousine, where she tries to get Daryl to write out a note giving her full custody. Now, I'm no expert, but I'm not sure a random note would hold up in court.
No.
I'm not sure it's just this random note saying, "I give my kid to this one,"
So this final sequence, it originally it was reshot after being shown to a preview audience, because originally it took place in a sugarcane field. Preview audiences were really uncomfortable with this, so it was rewritten and reshot in the sugar shack. And funny enough, we still see the final shots of that original sequence, being with a character being taken away with handcuffs in the final scene.
Oh yeah.
Instead of them actually just filming a new ending.
Oh. Why would they be uncomfortable? Am I being ignorant to something? Or was it just...
I mean, did something happen around that time? Involving...
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm just wondering why that would... yeah. Maybe it's something to look at. Garcia brings everyone along to the boat for some reason, including Angela. I don't know why, if this is potentially going to be a crime scene. He brings her along to the boat to find her after Erin leaves a lipstick message on the boat, on the mirror, doesn't she?
Mm-hmm.
And it's either an indication of where she's going or she's just left Drag Race. Sorry. Oh yeah, so they go to the boat. It's just really drawn out, this ending. No wonder I'm getting mixed up. They go to the boat, including a child, to what is potentially
two of the dancers.
Two of the dancers, to what is potentially a crime scene, and lipstick message, literally just saying whatever the sugar factory is, and then they race on over to there. Whilst there, Erin strings Dilbeck along and tricks him into confessing on tape as he proposes marriage to her as they're doing a little dance.
She says, "Take me like a man, a congressman."
Now this was reshot as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So during test screenings, audiences objected to a scene at the end where Dilbeck becomes violent and attempts to rape Erin, holding a knife to her throat. The scene was reshot 5 months later. I'm assuming this is the wig.
Yeah.
To make it funnier. Okay. Funnier. Is that insinuating that the original was meant to be funny?
Wrong choice of words.
Causing a 1 month delay in the release. But test screenings also turned up less than favourable reactions to the new ending, which I completely agree with. I think it's just it goes wild too much. She's stopped by Malcolm and the two henchmen, who are there to kill them both. So they're like, fuck this shit. We're just going to kill Dilbeck and Erin, and that's fine. Another Republican congressman that we can bribe can take the place. Shad and Garcia turn up to stop them, and then Daryl tries to get a coffee because he's all on medication, but ends up dropping a giant amount of sugar on top of the gunman, thus saving the day.
Yeah, again,
I am not a fan of that.
No, again, it's really... I mean, the fact that he's saving the day is problematic, but also the whole idea of him, I'm going to drop some sugar on these people by accident. Oh, again, it's really childish. It doesn't feel like it fits, and the soundtrack kind of makes it even more childish. It's so strange.
It's like something from like a cartoon.
Yeah.
Like Tom and like Tom and Jerry or something stupid like that. Like, oh, is this thing working? And he presses a button, this giant amount of sugar. It does annoy me. It annoys me a lot because essentially Erin has to be saved.
Yeah.
And there is kind of this damsel in distress moment at the end when she kind of hadn't been for the rest of the film. And it did annoy me that it is Daryl who saves the day.
Yeah.
Through sheer luck and cartoonish ness. The press turn up for Dilbeck's conference, which is what Erin had been up all night setting up, which I'm a little confused by, because why did that take all night? Why did she stay up all night? She had to like 5 phone calls. And Dilbeck's arrested in his underwear. He's got no trousers on, has he? And then Erin leaves. So this is the end. So this is in the sugar cane field. And Erin leaves in the limo with the 2 dancers and Angela and with Shad and the driver. Oh, the driver got knocked out, didn't he? They leave, and she promises Shad that she'll never go off without him again.
Yes.
And what I did appreciate is, because this moment between Erin and Shad, it isn't necessarily a romantic moment. There's no forced romance within this. I kept having to remind myself that obviously Lieutenant Garcia it was shown to be happily married, so there was going to be no romance there between them, and I thought it was refreshing that there wasn't a forced romance.
Yeah, definitely.
At the end of the film, it didn't end with a kiss. It ended up with her going to start a new life somewhere else, free of the constraints of her shit ex-husband.
Yeah. But
that also makes the reshot ending of him essentially saving the day shit.
Yeah.
Really.
And we get Missionary Man by Eurythmics over the end credits.
Of course we do. So, yeah, final thoughts. This isn't a masterpiece by any means. And for me, the majority of the jokes don't land. It's also far too long. There is a lot of guff that could have been cut. But I actually think the themes are really interesting. And I appreciate that the dancing is never the joke. The jokes don't always land, but the dancing is never the joke.
No.
Which was really refreshing. I thought Ving Rhames, I thought he had some really funny lines. I enjoyed his character. I enjoyed Demi Moore's performance, and I thought Erin was a really likeable lead. And it does, for me, suffer from... I actually thought the dancing set pieces were great as well.
Yeah,
I wish we'd had more of that.
Yeah.
I wish we would have had more of the backstage. I wish we would have seen more of the dancers. And them kind of be the heart of the film. What I would have liked, and this is maybe a spoiler alert for Sister Act, but at the end of Sister Act, where all the nuns get together, and they save the day. I would have liked to have seen that. Yeah, that sort of, because they have a camaraderie, Whereas in a film like Showgirls, there's a lot of backstabbing and a lot of bitchiness,
Mhm.
which is highly entertaining. But in Striptease, they all get on so well.
They
It's
do,
like a
yeah.
family.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd like to have seen those elements more. And I
Yeah.
do think the film suffers from not knowing sort of 100% what it wanted to be.
Mm-hmm.
I wish it had chosen a clearer direction. You know, if you're going to be, you know, a comedy and a satire, just choose one thing to be satirical
Mhm.
about, and then you can fully deal with it.
Yeah.
If you want to be a thriller, be a thriller. Because I actually think, now, hear me out. Imagine if this was filmed in the 80s
Mm-hmm.
as a straight up political thriller
Mm-hmm.
by Brian De Palma.
Oh yeah.
I reckon that would have been amazing.
Yeah, definitely.
That really, I reckon that would have been so
Mhm.
good. And I would have chosen off the back of Body Double.
Yeah.
Melanie Griffith. For the lead
Yeah.
role.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad Demi Moore's
Can
in
we
it.
make that
I
now?
think
Oh, I loved it.
she's
Yeah.
definitely one of the highlights of the film.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, I just basically agree with everything you said. I mean, it is just a bit too long, and a few things could have been fixed, but, you know, all the people going on like it was the worst thing ever created in the 90s really need to get a life, because this really isn't that bad at all.
It really isn't. I mean, each to their own. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. But I feel like a lot of, particularly at the time of its release, a lot of the negativity came from the marketing or, you know, let's be honest, sexism.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
a little bit of misogyny thrown in
Absolutely.
there if you want. You know, the idea of how dare Demi, and I think it is quite telling that, you know, at the time she was paid the most as an actress for a role based around nudity, and she was paid $12.5 million to perform,
Yeah.
you know, nudity. Well, that's not her fault.
Mm-hmm.
That's not, you know, that. Look at Hollywood. Look at society. That's not Demi's fault.
No.
And if, you know, trust and believe, if somebody called me tomorrow and said, Chris, I want you to do some stripping for $12.5 million, I'd be like,
Yeah.
where do you want me? Where do you need
I've
me?
always, an actress being paid that much to star in a film should
I'd be
have
looking
been
to get £12.50.
It should have been celebrated, not fucking...
Absolutely should be celebrated. And I think we're at that point now, and it's why, you know, when you said it's kind of ahead of its time, in many ways it is.
Yeah.
Because I do think, and I don't think we're 100% there. I don't.
No.
But I hope that, you know, in the future we will celebrate these kind of roles. You know, that because it is, in my opinion, you know, kind of an honest role.
Yeah.
You know, it's not washing over. You know, there's something like Hustlers.
Yeah.
It takes it even greater and makes it grittier, but and probably more real. But I think it's a disservice to the women who do perform as dancers in strip clubs, who do enjoy their work. I think it's a disservice to say that, you know, this is crap because of that, you know?
Well, let's get to the awards.
Yes.
The biggest queen, of course, is Erin.
Of course it's Erin. Absolutely. I said it before, and I know it's not the be-all and end-all, but Demi Moore was absolutely stunning in this film. Like, she really was. What a beautiful woman.
Biggest gasp, I have Burt Reynolds covered in Vaseline.
Burt Reynolds plus Vaseline equals gasp.
Yes.
Not the film festival.
Best dialogue, I have just a touch of your hand sets my pecker on fire.
I put how do I look? Better than me, and that ain't easy. And I put that because I am stealing that.
And finally, that's camp. There's many choices, but I've got Demi Moore dancing to Little Bird by Annie Lennox whilst in a towel and brushing her teeth.
I put the fact that Erin only dances to Annie Lennox songs, apart from that one time, is high camp.
That is camp.
High camp.
It is. And for ratings, I give it 6 horny trips to SeaWorld out of 10.
I gave it 6 sticky balls of lint out of 10.
And Masterpiece, Trash or Basic, it's none of the above.
It's
It's just fun.
Yeah. I would
Just a fun
recommend
time.
it. I genuinely would recommend it. I would also recommend maybe a director's cut at some point,
Yeah.
get rid of the guff. But I would, if somebody said, I'm thinking of watching Striptease, I said, go for it, love.
Yeah, and if you want to, it's available on video on demand and DVD. And if you enjoy this, I recommend checking out Strip to Kill.
Yes, previous podcast film.
Yes.
And another previous podcast film, Showgirls, is what I would recommend.
And if you're a fan of Striptease, then let us know on social media. We are Horror Cult Trash over on Facebook and Instagram. Horror Cult Trash on Twitter. I'm Dead@Gaz92 on Letterboxd. Gazmo205 on Instagram. And GazChris92 on Twitter.
I'm Chris Barker823 on Instagram and Letterboxd.
And check out our horror film festival, Gasp Horror Fest, across all social media at Gasp Horror Fest. And if you enjoyed this episode, and if you're feeling generous, give us a rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes, like a follow, and everything else. We will be back on Friday with our highlights from this year's Glasgow Film Festival.
Oh, yeah. And it was a good one.
It was a good one. And we'll be back the same time next week with an episode on the much requested, actually. We've had this request a few times. We'll be discussing Extro.
Yeah. Weird one.
Yeah, apparently.
Which, in my book, means a good episode.
I hope so. We'll be back same time, same place on Friday.
Bye.